Welcome to the Fourth Branch program. Glad you can make it. I am MD. This program is dedicated exclusively for those with common sense, a spirit of patriotism, and a determination for a more perfect union. Stay tuned as we begin the discussion of a very important, interesting, and enlightening topic. Hope to hear from you soon. Happy listening. Ignorance is the biggest threat to any democracy. John F. Kennedy said, "The ignorance of one voter in a democracy impairs the security of us all." Hello everyone, I am MD and this is the Fourth Branch program. First, a warning. This program is not suitable for all audiences. I repeat, the content of this program is not for everyone. To find out if it is suitable to you, first answer the following two questions. 1. Would you entrust your teenage daughter to a known rapist? Question number 2. Would you have a known pedophile cared for your toddler? Once again, question number 1, would you entrust your teenage daughter to a known rapist? And question number 2, would you have a known pedophile cared for your toddler? If you had difficulty answering either question, this program is not for you. If you answer yes to both questions, this program is definitely not for you. But if both of your answers are absolutely not, this program is catered to you. You should stick around. It is enlightening, educational, informative, and most of all, it is a program for all those who have common sense. Join me here on the Fourth Branch at 10:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. every Saturday. The country woke up yesterday, Wednesday, the 24th of 2018, to a slew of pipe bombs. First, before we talk about that today, I would like to remind you that this program, The Fourth French, is a program catered exclusively for those with common sense, a spirit of patriotism, and a determination for a more perfect union. This week, the topic of this program is the fight to the entitlement system. But today, in light of what has been going on in the country for the past 24 to 48 hours, we decided to take a quick look at what has been going on and look at it through the prism of politics, the prism of the politics of fear. In fact, it is one of the programs that we are currently preparing to present to you. First, on to the pipe bomb. As I started saying, that the country woke up yesterday, Wednesday 24th of October 2018, to a slew of pipe bombs, which was sent to prominent Democrat figures: former President Barack Obama, former Vice President Joe Biden, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, former Attorney General Eric Holder, former DNC Chairwoman Debbie Wasserman, Congressman Maxine Walter, and of course other Donald Trump critics, including former CIA Director John Brennan, Democrat and major Democrat donor George Soros, and of course actor Robert De Niro, as well as to a major news network, CNN. There is one thing that is common among all those individuals. They have all been ardent critics of Donald Trump. Now, this is not to say that Mr. Trump is directly involved or behind those pipe bombs. However, it is no surprise to anyone that Donald Trump's language is certainly a very big factor behind any such action. Panic set in. Law enforcement, FBI, local police, bomb squad, they were all moved in high gear, trying to confront what seems to be a coordinated approach to hurt, or at the very least to throw the country into chaos. It is too early to understand the real motive behind those attempts. There is one undeniable common thread behind them all. The intended recipients have all been critics of Donald Trump. It is not the first time a president has been subjected to a torrent of criticism by the media and, of course, by prominent figures from the opposing political party. George W. Bush was the recipient of such after it was uncovered that Iraq war was based on lies, fabricated, distorted information. Barack Obama was hated from day one, vilified by Fox regularly, and yet each time a tragedy occurred under the former occupants of the Oval Office, the reaction was pretty much the same: to offer words of encouragement, to offer a path to unity, until, of course, Donald Trump. Donald Trump, on the other hand, is at the roots of the big divide in the country. Yes, you heard correctly. This is not a surprise to anyone, Democrat or Republican. Mr. Trump is an antagonist. In fact, he introduced his campaign on July of 2015 by casting aspersion on immigrants in general, Mexicans in particular. Mr. Trump demeaned women, insulted John McCain, consistently attacked the media for reporting on his behavior on the many scandals of both his private life and as President of the United States. In an interview according to Fox this morning, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who is the White House press secretary, echoed the president's sentiment vis-a-vis the media. Commenting on the spree of bomb mailed to various prominent figures of the Democratic Party, Mrs. Sanders suggested the media focus should not be on holding the president accountable, but rather on talking about his accomplishment. I must admit, listening to Mrs. Sanders, I had to pause for a moment to catch my breath, to grasp what Mrs. Sanders thinks the media role is for. As White House press secretary, Sarah Huckabee Sanders must be completely oblivious of the role of the media in a democracy. Mrs. Sanders, let me remind you, the media is not cheerleaders for any president. For Trump, however, it looks like Fox has been filling that role. Fox Network, Fox Propaganda Network, which is referred to by most as Fox News, has been, for the Trump administration, a cheerleading network. But in general, Mrs. Sanders, the media is not here to serve as cheerleaders for Donald Trump or anyone who sits in the Oval Office. You may not remember, but during the Obama administration, Fox and Company, Breitbart, InfoWars, The Hill, Rush Limbaugh, and Coulter, and the whole list increased their viewership and their listeners' base. And they also built a fortune exclusively criticizing Obama at a time when unity was called for. This is not to say this is okay, but just a reminder to Mrs. Sanders that the media is not here to serve as cheerleader for Donald Trump. You may remember during the Obama administration, the country fell into one of the worst recessions. The auto industry was going bankrupt. The financial sector was in bankruptcy, and yet every comment towards the Obama administration was meant for him to fail. Yes, Mrs. Sanders, Mr. Trump inherited a great economy. He didn't build it. He inherited it. And yet, during the Obama administration, who had to cope with a failing country, a failing economy, the media was not cheerleading for Obama. Mrs. Sanders, the role of the media is not to cheerleading. That's what Fox is here for. That's what Fox does for the Republican Party. For over 2 years now, most of the problems confronted by the country are caused by the President of the United States. Yes, the very individual who is supposed to help solve problems whenever they arise is the one causing them. Mr. Trump is an antagonist. As such, even with the latest bomb scare outbreaks, Mr. Trump did not disappoint those who would like to see a weaker United States, those who have no understanding whatsoever as to what patriotism is, and those who simply have outsourced their brains. As I reflect many times here, the country is not divided between Democrat and Republican. The country is not divided because the Democrat constituent and the Republican constituent are so far apart from one another. No, that's not the case. The country is divided between those who seek knowledge and those who choose to stay and live in ignorance. The country is divided between those who seek the truth and the wisdom, and those who promote and enjoy falsehood. Yes, the country is divided between those who have made use of their brand and those who have simply outsourced theirs. Mrs. Sanders, the country is not divided between Democrat and Republican. The country is in need rather of a leader who knows the way, a leader who can show the way, and yes, a leader who is willing to go all the way. Join me here on the Fourth Branch at 10:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. every Saturday. In 1996, a small network by the name of Fox News was launched with just 17 million viewers. Today, with over 100 million people watching regularly, Fox has become the greatest threat to our democracy, constantly bombarding the airways with false information, distortion of facts, and outright lies, presenting to its audience as news. Fox has created an army of blissful ignorance. According to a recent survey, 82% of Fox viewers are ignorant of facts and the truth. To keep millions of people in ignorance not only prevents democracy from flourishing, but it also clears the path to authoritarianism, to dictatorship. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Nothing in all the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity." Let me finish by saying that democracy cannot survive in an environment where truth and facts do not matter. At Fox, truth and facts do not matter. Indeed, democracy in America is in jeopardy. It is a crisis the country can no longer ignore. As those events are evolving across the nation, as of this conversation we're having, there were at least 10 pipe bombs that were mailed to different parts of the country, to different recipients, and although we must say that we got to be somewhat grateful, either the perpetrator did not intend to harm anyone, but rather just to scare each one of those individuals, because as we know, Obama, Clinton do not physically or receive or open their mail. It is processed by Secret Service, so there is at no point in time any possibility that Obama himself and his family would have been in danger. But that's besides the point. There is also another piece of news that has nothing to do with the bomb pipe square that we've been talking about, but rather the President of the United States, which continue to cause some scare in the national security circle. And the reason I say that is because it is revealed that, according to the intelligence agencies, the Chinese and the Russians are listening in on Trump's personal conversation. And the reason that they're able to do that, according to the intelligence agencies, it's because Mr. Trump is using his personal phone, which he prevent the intelligence, the Secret Service, from securing the phone. Now, you may be looking at that and don't give it a second thought. This is the first time that a president, sitting president, who is not smart enough to understand that there is enough technology in the part of our enemies to be able to hear what he talks about when he uses his personal cell phone, but even go as far as preventing Secret Service from securing the phone. Now, it is beyond understanding, because the primary job of the President of the United States is to safeguard the security of the nation. Now you have that president on the phone talking, and you can rest assured when Donald Trump talks to anybody, he talks about everything and anything. And to have the enemy listening in. Now, while everybody is the Secret Service intelligence agencies are freaking out over that problem, my theory is very different. It is scary that the President of the United States is doing that, but my theory is that he actually wants those people to hear what he's saying. Because no matter which way you spin it, no matter whatever explanation you want to attach to it, there is no logic beyond what I just said. Because the President of the United States, his job is to protect the security of the nation. And you do that by taking all the various precautions to prevent the enemy, whether it's Russia, China, or any other foreign entity, from having access to information that could be construed as national security. Now, the President of the United States is well aware of that. Every single day, he gets daily briefing from FBI. He gets daily briefing from CIA. So he knows the danger. That's number one. And number two, he was warned about the danger. And number three, a Secret Service could secure the phone to prevent that problem from happening. In other words, they can prevent eavesdropping. Now, you tell me whatever you want. There is no other logic but for the President of the United States to want foreign entities like Russia and China to listen in on his conversation. There is no other explanation, because all the necessary steps can be taken. He is well aware of the problem. He was warned about the problem, and there is a solution for the problem. He refused. That is mind-boggling, because the individual who supposed to protect the country, that very individual exposed the country. Now, you can talk all kind of conversation you want. You can try to defend the president all you want, but imagine Obama doing that. Imagine how the world, the United States, would be on fire. But now you have people in his administration, people who's supposed to be a watchdog of the politician, referring to Fox in particular. Fox is not alone, but Fox in particular, which actually like to put the word news behind in their name, out there defending the action of a president who exposes national security. There is no word for that. I personally have a very difficult time trying to grasp that very problem. It's not that there is no solution. Every president before Donald Trump has let Secret Service secure the fund that they use, personal or business. Even children of presidents have to have their gadget secured by Secret Service. Yes, they can do that. They can encrypt the phone so that when the president is talking, then his conversation cannot be intercepted. You may say it's private information. Can you imagine Donald Trump having private information and not discussing the affairs of the country? Talking to Sean Hannity, talking to other individual when he's venting, ranting about something. Can you imagine that be the case? Of course not. That is mind-boggling. But in any event, there is another piece of information you may want to kind of have some. It's good to know. What you're looking at is an iceberg, at least the shape, the rectangular shape of an iceberg that geologists have discovered. Well, actually, that picture was taken by NASA, and this picture is of the region called the Antarctica region, where that shape, it looks almost as if someone did that. But I assure you, there is nobody involved in doing that. It was a picture taken, and actually there is a video of this, and here it is. That video showing you, it's a video that was you see the plane that you were watching earlier. That plane, it's I guess the engine, where the engine part is, you're looking at that small piece of it, and the people that actually landed there took that picture, took that video, and of course pass it on to us to show that Mother Nature is sometimes capable of doing the kind of thing that we sit at home, or we sit in our living room, or we sit in school, or we produce this kind of shape. When you're looking at it, it's almost impossible to believe that there was no human hand in that, because it's so perfect. It's a perfect rectangle made by Mother Nature alone. No mankind, there was no refining done. Nobody did anything to that shape that you're currently looking at. It's completely Mother Nature. It is actually mind-boggling, pretty interesting that that's the case. Wouldn't you say? It's really pretty interesting. Well, now there is one more interesting thing to show you. Now, that is something that what you're looking at actually is image of I guess an earthquake that happened. I think it was in 2017. That was in 2017. Yes, I'm fairly certain it was in 2017 in Mexico. That when that earthquake happened, actually I'm going to show you the video, but the reason I'm showing you this is because there is a story behind that. It was September 2017. There was a major earthquake in Mexico. I believe it was 8.2 in magnitude. An earthquake that really caused, I don't know if you remember, that there was a building, not a skyscraper, but it was a tall building, and it was caught on a cell phone by a passersby, who actually show you the building was literally coming down, almost as if during the when they put dynamite under a building and they trying to bring the building down. So the building was coming down almost as if it was planned. Now that was that time, that earthquake. But that particular earthquake and the damage that you're looking at was caused by that earthquake on September 7th, and it was, according to geologists, it was because of a shift on the tectonic plate 37 miles away. There was a shift on the tectonic plate which caused that major earthquake. But the most important part that geologists wanted to talk about is the fact that there was a split on the tectonic plate. If you look at your screen at this time, you're going to see that there is a split in the tectonic plate. Now, there are at least 7 major tectonic plates in the world. Now, you're looking at that screen where you look at the arrow where the plate. Think of the tectonic plate as a huge, large bar that represent kind of a divide between different parts of the earth. Now, if you were to look at if you're sitting at your table, for instance, think of the middle of the table. If you were to put a ruler in the middle of the table, think of that ruler, what connects both sides of the table. In other words, if you were to remove the ruler, the table will split. Right? Now, this is what the tectonic plate do for in different parts of the world, in different area. As I mentioned, there are at least 7 major. There are smaller ones, but there are at least 7 major tectonic plate in the world. Now, most of the major catastrophe that happen in our planet, some of them, or maybe I should say most of them, are due to some movement, some shift in the tectonic plate. Now, when there is an earthquake, it is almost certain that there is some shift. Depending on where you are in the world, then you would have a tectonic plate which is named based on that particular place where you're at in the world. For instance, I am looking at now, there is where give me a second. According to National Geography, there was a similar earthquake that happened in Chile, the Chilean town of Chillán, in 1939, and 30,000 people lost their lives. Now, usually, when there is an earthquake, as you observe, especially today with technology, even if we're not there, even we're not experiencing it ourselves, but we see via video, via internet, via information that are posted on the internet, that the earth tends to break the place where you're at. If an earthquake happens, and if it's strong enough, it tends to break the area, and sometimes you see a whole house, a whole building just go under. And in fact, in some places, not really too long ago, recently there were some of those same thing happen in Panama, in somewhere in Latin America, where you see that a whole house just go under, a whole car go under, and if there are people, chances are that would be the earth pretty much open and swallow this whole thing. And the reason is because as I was explaining, the tectonic plate is kind of represents a seam between two sides of wherever, because it depends on where you're at. You'll have a particular tectonic plate that's named for that particular area. So what happened is, when there is a shift, and the shift happened not because of anything specific, because as you know, it seems like we stand still, the earth stands still, there is nothing going on, but the earth is moving. We don't feel it. If the earth was moving fast, then we would be thrown here and there all around. We would not be able to walk and keep our balance. The earth is moving, but it's moving. It's a big ship. It's moving. We don't feel it. That's why we see the sun at some point coming up, and then at some other point the sun is gone. Now, it's because the earth is moving, or should say the whole solar system is moving, and at some point the sun is right there in front of us, and at some other time it's on a different side, and at one point the sun just disappeared. Now, because the earth is moving, so as you can imagine, for millions of years those kind of movement happen. Now, the tectonic plate, of course, not happening really quickly, but moving with the system it is in. And as that happened, of course, in the process, that caused, for instance, under sea floor, there are a lot of that has happened. Sometimes we're aware of it, sometimes we're not. And when it happens, sometimes you have tsunami, especially in the Asia Pacific world. We talk a lot about tsunami in that part of the world, and it's all due to the fact that there is some shaking on the seafloor, and it caused those kind of things. Now, the reason that I brought that up is it's not to talk about it. I'm not a geologist, and I'm learning as I go about this. Is because geologists have been freaking out, and the reason they've been freaking out is because of what you're seeing in the video. It's one tectonic plate. When that earthquake happened in Mexico in September 2017, usually, well, in the past, we didn't have that capability. Earthquake happened, people die, damage is done, and then we clean up and we try to go back to life, make at least a semblance of normalcy. But today, however, because of technology, we are able to go back and look at data and understand exactly what just happened. So geologists just found out that when that earthquake happened, also something else happened. The tectonic plate split. Now, what does that mean? Now, you have earthquake, you have volcano, a number of other changes to our planet happen when those kind of things really occur. So when those geologists saw the split, not shift, split, which means this move was big enough to cause the tectonic plate to split. Think of the example I provided earlier. If you had a ruler that hold the table together in the middle of the table, that hold the table together, not only when there is a shift, the table will suffer, will be impacted, but now we're talking about a split. So it's two action in one, which actually those individuals studying the phenomenon are not necessarily in a position to tell you what that means in terms of future problem. We already know the tectonic plate, they play a role in what happened to our planet, but we know also when they move, when there is a move of the tectonic plate, we also suffer, the earth suffer impact of that. But now when you have a split, that means for that part of the world, things are very different. Because if you picture now your table that completely was one piece, now all of a sudden, because of the split, now you have one piece standing in the way that it used to be, and the other side completely separated, or at least is moving in that direction. So you can imagine any further movement on one side or the other, even if nothing were going to happen, but that may trigger something to happen. Because when a tectonic plate shifts, if it's not really a big move, nothing may happen. But now, when the move happens, even if it happened at the plate where at the location where the split hasn't reached yet, but now it has two prongs, one this way, one that way, and the reaction on either side, nobody can yet say what's going to happen. So it's a story that we get interested in, and we're watching to figure out exactly how that's going to impact our lives here on planet Earth. We'll be right back. I thank you for spending the time with me, listening me talking about an interesting topic, but a topic you may not necessarily have much interest in. But we will return tomorrow, and we'll continue with the topic we have been discussing, which is the fight to the entitlement system. And we will also be talking about especially the welfare system. Remember, we started talking about the welfare system, how it's being impacted by what Mr. McConnell proposed when he suggested that the way to tackle the growing national debt is to cut on the benefits that people in this country are beneficiaries of. So those beneficiaries would be impacted by what Mitch McConnell proposed. So tomorrow we'll come back to discuss part 2 of the welfare system. I thank you for watching, for spending the time with me. I hope you have a good afternoon or a great evening, whichever that happened to be. Good day.
The Fourth Branch Podcast is brought to you in collaboration with the People Branch publication, which can be found on the People Branch website, located at peoplebranch.org. That's peoplebranch.org. That's peoplebranch.org website, in which you will find a number of very interesting articles. My name is Mike Duchesne, MD for short. I hope you have a great afternoon or a great evening, whichever it happens to be. Hopefully you can join me again next time for another interesting episode of this podcast. That was the Fourth Branch, live from New York. Good day.